You are listening to stories at Chubby Orange Audio. Wish you an enjoyable listening experience. After the male and female leads got married, my brother Marcus was so desperate that he wanted to die. That day, I brought home a blonde guy. Marcus was standing on the rooftop balcony, eyes wide with rage. Feet still bare, didn't say a word, just turned around and ran downstairs to chase and beat me. The next day, I fearlessly walked home with a pregnancy test result. Marcus, you're about to become an uncle. Are you happy? My brother Marcus calmly pulled out a handful of sleeping pills from his throat and carefully wrapped the cut on his wrist with gauze, round after round. I swallowed nervously and glanced at him secretly. Marcus, you don't want to die anymore. Marcus laughed coldly and picked up the feather duster beside him. That's right, not dying anymore. Afraid you'll give birth to another blonde kid dancing disco in front of my grave. Everyone says my brother Marcus is a cold-blooded, evil villain who spends every day either plotting to kill the male lead or fighting over the female lead. But I don't think so, because Marcus really likes picking up small animals from the street and bringing them home. Little cats with broken legs, blind puppies. He doesn't even bother to look closely, just grabs them by the scruff and throws them into the house. The lady downstairs advised him, "That cat has 3 legs. Bringing it home will bring bad luck." Marcus didn't care at all. What does she know? 3 legs are more stable, so how bad can a person who likes small animals really be? Even I was picked up by him. That day I was huddled in a corner trying to avoid the rain. He walked past that corner and glanced at me. "Oh, cosplaying a mushroom? Cool. Cool my ass." I was almost frozen to death. What cosplay nonsense? My vision was swaying, my mind dizzy. Just as I was about to collapse, a hand reached out in front of me. In the cold, pouring rain, that hand stood out with each knuckle clearly defined. A milk candy from Prosperity brand lay quietly in his palm. Marcus awkwardly scratched his head with his other hand. Searched everywhere and only found this one. I was so hungry. That one candy was as precious as abalone and lobster to me then. I quickly took it, tore off the wrapper, and immediately fainted after putting it in my mouth. Before losing consciousness, the last image I saw was Marcus panicking, grabbing a passerby to explain. "It's just candy, really just a normal piece of candy." When I woke up, I was already at his house, covered in cats of all colors and strange appearances, no two alike. Beside me was a little mixed breed dog licking my face with all its might. Marcus brought a bowl of medicine to me. "Drink it all, then you can leave." I said nothing, just closed my eyes and pressed my lips tightly together. Marcus couldn't stand it and immediately softened. He irritably ruffled his hair, then smoothed it back, revealing his shiny forehead. "Damn, I've never raised a child before." Marcus looked at the dogs and cats running around the house and said hesitantly, "I've raised them, so it should be similar, right?" Then Marcus held 3 metal bowls in each hand and another one in his mouth, cheerfully calling out, "Dinner time." A bunch of cats meowed and rushed over like chickens being fed. The dogs followed behind, tongues hanging out, eyes bright. But they didn't fight over food, they obediently waited for the cats to finish before slowly running over to lick the bowls. I also sat among the dogs waiting. Marcus patted my head. So well behaved. Then he gave me a small Hello Kitty bowl with instant noodles he made himself, plus a boiled egg. Marcus raised his eyebrows. "How's that? Am I good at this?" "Good at what?" The noodles were full of eggshells and the salt was like he'd dumped the whole bag in. But I didn't say anything, just quietly ate it all, crying while eating, tears falling into the hot steam. Marcus panicked, flustered and not knowing what to do. "Why are you crying? Is it so good you're crying from joy?" I ignored him and continued crying while eating with my head down. Seeing me keep crying, Marcus anxiously paced around me, even turning to ask the cats and dogs who were eating like they were starving, "Do you guys know what to do? Hey, why do you only know how to eat? Useless." Marcus was very busy. When I slept, he was hunting the male lead. When I went to school, he was still hunting the male lead. But as soon as I mentioned a parent-teacher conference, Marcus immediately dropped everything. He dressed up flashily and strutted into my classroom, sitting in my chair like a gangster showing his authority. The thick gold chain around his neck nearly blinded me with its glare. "Can't let my girl lose face." Marcus grinned when the academic results were announced. Seeing my slightly sad expression, he comforted me. "It's okay if you're not good at studying. Your brother has money. You can inherit the company and pig farm later." After saying this, He picked up the ranking list and started looking from the bottom. Where's your name? Did the teacher forget to write it? When he saw my name at the very top, Marcus was stunned. My girl is this smart. I couldn't help but finally burst out laughing. Marcus patted my head. You little liar, who taught you to lie? That evening, he took me to a fancy Western restaurant. Marcus cut the steak into small pieces and fed them to me. His phone rang. The person on the other end reported that the male and female leads had a date tonight at location S. Marcus immediately frowned and answered without thinking. I'm having dinner with my sister. Deal with it later. When the other person was about to say something more, Marcus hung up directly. Keep eating. He pushed the plate toward me and bent his head to debone the fish. After dinner, he took me home, then hurriedly left. He didn't come back until midnight, and when he did, he didn't go to bed. Hiding on the balcony smoking cigarette after cigarette, I rubbed my eyes and pushed open the balcony door. Marcus sat leaning against the wall, his face tilted in the hazy smoke, eyes cold but looking very tired. Looking closer, I noticed he was soaking wet, with purple bruises under his eyes like he'd been beaten several times. Seeing me come out, he immediately stubbed out his cigarette and stood up. Just smoking a bit. Go inside, don't let the smoke bother you. I pretended not to hear and shuffled over in my slippers, standing on tiptoe to touch the wound on his face. When my cold finger touched his skin, Marcus's eyelashes trembled violently. Does it hurt? No, doesn't hurt as much as when Patches and Happy bit me. Patches and Happy were the calico cat and the husky at home. I didn't say anything and threw myself into his arms. Marcus, you should shave your beard. It hurts when it pokes my face. In high school, I grew up fast, shooting up like bamboo. Transforming from a bean sprout figure into a slender, charming silhouette, Marcus became suspicious and paranoid, pretending to casually ask every day, "Hey, is your boyfriend tall?" I frowned. I don't have a boyfriend. Marcus breathed a sigh of relief. Haha, I must have remembered wrong. Every day after school, Marcus came to pick me up, rain or shine, never missing a day, and constantly transferred money to me. In my backpack, just lifting any corner would reveal bright red bills, all 100 yuan notes. When I asked him, Marcus evasively said, "Probably Patches and Happy put them there." I knew Marcus gave me money, because he was afraid some blonde boy would tempt me with just a cup of milk tea. But in this whole school, there wasn't anyone both more handsome and richer than Marcus. I reassured him. Marcus was praised so much he grinned from ear to ear, unable to hide his smugness. Good to know. But this proud brother of mine went and acted like a lapdog for the female lead every day. When the female lead got sick, Marcus drove 180 km beach like life didn't matter anymore. The result? When he got to the hospital, he found the male and female leads passionately kissing in the hospital room. For the female lead's birthday, Marcus spent nearly half his fortune buying a gorgeous, precious sapphire to give her. Yet he still lost to a ring made from a blade of wild grass by the male lead. After that incident, Marcus began to hate that poor guy to his bones. After being rejected by the female lead for the 100th time, Marcus still smiled gently and said, "I'm so good to her, sooner or later she'll come around." But then the next day, news of the male and female lead's marriage shot straight to the top of the trending searches. That night, Marcus disappeared without a trace from the hotel. At this moment, Marcus Liu was gripping the wedding invitation tightly in his hand. He thought about whether he should crash the wedding, or at least cause some chaos. But all those thoughts vanished when he saw the girl in the white mermaid wedding dress, her smile curved at the corners of her eyes, sparkling with happiness. He remembered that summer in high school when she bent her head to give a lecture, her soft hair gently falling beside her cheek. He remembered her standing under the phoenix flowers, turning her head to call his name. All these things only he had treasured for so many years, but in the end, her happiness wasn't with him. Because of a bit of stubbornness, a bit of unwillingness to give up, he had done many wrong things before, and now should be the last time he did the right thing. So when the bride and groom exchanged rings on stage, he, like all the other guests, stood up and applauded. He even clapped louder than anyone else. Flower petals fell like rain on the stage. He reached out to catch one petal and held it tight. Marcus Liu thought it was time to retreat. When the male and female leads hugged each other happily, he lowered his head, lit a cigarette, typed a few words and sent them, "Happy wedding," then quietly left through the back door. But after retreating, what then? He leaned against a wall, somewhat dazed, and lit another cigarette. Once the obsession disappeared, only emptiness remained in his heart and dryness in his soul. For half his life, he had been busy chasing after her. Now suddenly stopping, he didn't know where to go. It seemed like there was no reason to keep living. She was happy now and didn't need him anymore. Even the wealth he had struggled to build over half his lifetime was initially just to give her a way out, a protection. Now everything was no longer important. Marcus Liu suddenly felt extremely tired. He slowly squatted down and hugged himself tightly. Maybe he should sleep for a very long time, a dream from which he would never wake up again. Marcus. Finally, I found my brother. I saw him curled up into a ball, his head buried deep in his arms. I had never seen Marcus like this. In the misty rain, he looked like a tree quietly withering away, lonely and wilted. Love really isn't beautiful at all. I walked over, pretending to be casual. Hey, are you cosplaying a mushroom? You look so cool. The man paused for a moment, then slowly raised his head. Cool my ass. Only then did I clearly see his bloodshot red eyes and his usually sharp eyebrows now drooping down. I didn't ask anything, just walked over and squatted down beside him, gently tugging at his sleeve. Marcus, when you're not home, I don't dare to sleep. Marcus had always been soft-hearted, so no matter what the situation, he would always, like now, stand up and take my hand. All right, let's go home then. When we got home, Marcus immediately locked himself in his room. He didn't even pet the cats or feed the dogs. I immediately went on high alert. You have to know that Marcus treasured and spoiled those cats like precious gems. The dogs were more carefree, so it didn't matter much. But now the cats took turns circling around him, rubbing against him constantly. Yet he acted like he saw nothing. Bang, the sound of the door slamming shut. It looked like Marcus was really hurt. Marcus had been depressed for ages and I couldn't cheer him up. I sat outside his door waiting all day but didn't see him come out. I only dared to text him tentatively. Marcus, I don't know how to do this problem. Marcus quickly sent back. Wait! 5 minutes later, he sent a super detailed explanation with photos. As long as he was still alive, that was good. So to make sure Marcus was still okay, I sent him a homework problem every half hour. Math, physics, English, biology, geography, all kinds of subjects until I carelessly grabbed a problem from the internet and sent it. Click. The room door burst open. Marcus came out, half angry, half amused. You're in 10th grade and already studying calculus? I looked down at it again. Damn, I was too careless. You're okay, Marcus. He reached out and pinched my cheeks. Don't worry about me. Liar. I could clearly see the tear stains on his face weren't dry yet, but I knew Marcus was a very proud person. So wanna eat? Mom made sweet and sour fish. Your favorite. Marcus rubbed his stomach. Actually, I am a bit hungry. Let's go eat. During dinner, Marcus was still absent-minded, his soul seemed to have flown away. The bold cats climbed right onto the dining table, planning to slurp the soup from the bowls. Yet Marcus didn't bother to react, just kept his head down eating quietly. What's wrong with you, Marcus? I was startled back to reality. Did I get burned? No, Marcus. I pointed at the dog lying on the ground rolling around. Fluffy stepped on it when jumping down from the table. Fluffy was the fattest cat in our house, once weighing nearly 15 kilograms. Getting stepped on by it would leave a red mark if light, or end up like that dog if heavy. Marcus glanced down and continued eating. It's fine, it's a tough dog. Please restore justice for me. As soon as Marcus came home from school, I was already happily knocking on his room door. Marcus, look what I picked up. This time Marcus couldn't hide his red, rimmed eyes. He pretended to yawn like he just woke up. What is it? I pushed the little kid standing behind me forward in front of Marcus. What? You snooze, you loose. The teenager looked up and met Marcus's eyes. Pale white skin, a thin, clean face, calm black eyes. Marcus glared. Snow Lou, where did you lure this kid from? I pouted, feeling wronged. Marcus, you're yelling at me. Marcus immediately softened his voice and gently repeated, Damn it, Snow, where did you bring this kid from? Satisfied, I immediately explained. He ran away from the orphanage, right at the street corner. I bought him a steamed bun, and he's been following me for 3 days. Marcus fell silent. Both Marcus and I knew about that orphanage. The teachers and caretakers there often beat the children. They ate cabbage and radishes every day, only seeing meat once a week. It was worse than prison. Marcus had donated money several times, but every time he visited, the kids were still hungry and ragged, covered in bruises. Only the director was fat and healthy, his face shiny with grease. Marcus understood and stopped donating money, switching to giving necessities instead. Marcus. This boy was beaten the worst. He snuck out a week ago. I pushed him forward and whispered. Marcus nodded in understanding. How did you escape from that place? They guard it like a prison. The teenager blinked and said quietly, dog hole. Marcus couldn't help but laugh and reached out to pat his head. Pretty smart. But the teenager tilted his head away. Won't let me touch. Marcus found it interesting. The teenager calmly said, being polite, afraid of dirtying your hand. Marcus looked pleased and reached out to touch again. It's okay, I don't mind. The teenager dodged again. I whispered from the side. It's not that, Marcus. I think he's the one who finds you dirty. Suddenly having an extra child in the house, Marcus no longer had time to be sad. He was busy with adoption procedures, changing names, so busy he was overjoyed. At first, the boy's name was Chenka. Chenkrai. Marcus frowned. What kind of weird name is that? What parents would name their child that? He waved his hand. Take my surname, call him Vincent Liu. Sounds much better. After changing the name, he took the whole family out for a big meal. The result was that Vincent ate a few bites and said he was full, couldn't eat anymore. I immediately looked at him with sympathetic eyes. Because in our house before, when cats and dogs got sick and couldn't eat, Marcus would hold a spoon and force feed them bite by bite, muttering while feeding, have you had enough? Not saying anything means not enough, so eat a bit more. After repeating this several times, even the pickiest eater in the house would become more obedient. When mealtime came, they'd run faster than anyone else. Of course, not running to the food, but running away to find hiding spots. Afraid Marcus would use his iron hand, tender heart technique again. Sure enough, hearing, can't eat anymore? Marcus was like a switch had been flipped, sternly demanding the waiter bring a spoon, forcing Vincent to eat another half plate of steak. By evening, Marcus no longer had time to hold photos of him and the female lead and cry secretly. Because besides checking my homework, he also had to tutor Vincent to catch up to high school level. The homework problems got harder and harder. My brain wasn't enough to handle it. I once gloriously scored 33 points in physics, yet still had the nerve to keep my position as physics class representative. The physics teacher once tactfully suggested I should give the position to someone more capable. I pretended not to understand. At least when collecting homework, I could still copy. The family had considered hiring a tutor, but Marcus rejected them all. Your brother graduated with a double PhD from Tsinghua. Who could be more authoritative than me? So during the day he worked, and at night he tutored us until 11 or 12 o'clock, exhausted until he fell asleep. The photo of the female lead was placed in the corner of the desk, covered with dust. The sleeping pills were also carefully stored in a drawer. Looking at his sleeping posture, I smiled with satisfaction. So what about the female lead? I have strength and tactics. What was surprising was that Vincent was very smart. No matter how difficult the knowledge, he could understand it almost immediately after learning it once. Before long, he had caught up to my progress. I held his head in dissatisfaction. Why, unfair? God, share some with me. Vincent continued doing his homework with an expressionless face, undisturbed by my complaining voice. Marcus pushed the door open carrying fruit for us. Before leaving, he hugged each of our heads, planning to kiss us. Of course, Vincent dodged. Marcus made a hurt expression. Still think I'm dirty. Vincent paused his pen for a moment, hesitantly bent his head down and moved closer. Now Marcus was happy, like playing with cats and dogs, hugging him tight and messing up his hair. After leaving with a satisfied look, Vincent looked at his messy hair like a bird's nest in the mirror and sighed. Coax him more, and I'll share my allowance with you. I helped fix his hair. He instinctively wanted to dodge but somehow forced himself to endure it. I suspect Marcus has depression. Vincent's eyes widened, but then he looked doubtful. Hey, don't look at how happy he seems every day, it's all an act. Marcus is really good at acting. Actually, when we go to school, he secretly cries alone, cries terribly. Because of heartbreak. The woman he loved for nearly 20 years married the person he hates most. He confessed 100 times with flowers, diamond rings, luxury yachts. That girl still firmly refused. If it's not that person, she won't marry. And that person is poor too. Tell me, who wouldn't collapse? I really don't understand. Getting to the climax, I jumped up and sat cross-legged on the desk, snatching the homework from Vincent's hands. You're still young but have no interest in gossip. I don't understand. Marcus is kind, handsome, and rich. Why wouldn't she marry him? From outside came the sound of footsteps. I was agitated and frustrated. Exactly. I finally concluded. Unless she's crazy. Marcus couldn't stand it anymore and kicked the door open. You little troublemaker. Besides, what's a kid doing butting into adult conversations? Marcus pounced to cover my mouth. I raised my hands to resist, pulling his hair. We wrestled for a while. In the corner that few noticed, Vincent quietly picked up the homework book that had been stepped on from the floor and sighed deeply. Since having Vincent, Marcus's household chores decreased significantly. According to Marcus, the boy was very observant. When the cat litter needed changing, without anyone reminding him, he'd put on a mask and clean it with a shovel. Plants in the room, that were about to die, were nursed back to health by him. He also liked growing flowers, but unfortunately the cats always destroyed them, yet he never got angry. He'd just calmly sit down, carry the cat elsewhere, and patiently clean up the scattered soil on the floor. Really? Our house could have a vase knocked over and we wouldn't bother to set it upright. Marcus pushed my head. I replied carelessly, just buy a new one. Vincent and I studied in the same grade but different classes. Every evening after he finished his homework, he'd come to my classroom door to wait. A tall, thin boy standing at the classroom door with cold, indifferent eyes was very conspicuous. My whole class looked over with sparkling eyes. Wow, who is that? So handsome. Who is he looking for? I stood up amid everyone's envious gazes and walked over proudly. I threw my bag forward. Vincent caught it smoothly. I walked closer and tiptoed to put my arms around his neck. Let's go. Behind us came chatter. Looking for Snow. I heard their siblings. That's nonsense. They don't look alike at all. Must be a younger brother then. But you can't deny they look good together. I didn't show anything on my face but held my head high, secretly pleased. Little brother, I called him softly. Vincent? NM. Bend down a little. Why are you so tall? My toes are getting tired from tiptoeing. Unexpectedly, as soon as we left the building, he removed my hand from his neck, slung the bag crosswise, and walked straight ahead. I pouted. Good at playing hard to get, huh? Vincent heard and tilted his head slightly, his steps also slowing down. Satisfied, I put my arm around his neck again. Vincent frowned, pursed his lips, seeming to think about something. A moment later, he stuffed his shirt hem into my hand. I stared wide-eyed. Just a shirt hem. Too stingy. I want to hold hands. Vincent's eyelashes trembled slightly. No? Why not? I asked again. He wouldn't say more and even put his hands in his pockets. Saving them for whom? Who wants them? Suddenly I remembered something. Hey, have you seen that video? The younger brother bringing fake love letters to class to give to his sister, making her look good. I nudged him with my elbow. You do that for me too. I've been dropping in popularity in class lately. Never mind, I can't count on you anyway. I'll ask my bestie's brother instead. That would work too. Vincent pursed his lips. He wouldn't even let me hold his shirt hem anymore, snatching it back and walking straight ahead alone. What now, little brother? When we got home, Marcus was already sitting at the dining table right on time. What's Mrs. Zhang making today? Sweet and sour ribs that you kids love most. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. I rushed over to grab a piece and put it in my mouth, only to get burned and yelp. Oh. Marcus quickly ran over. See, being hasty again. I've told you so many times. Spit it out quickly. Vincent's hands were even faster than Marcus's. I opened my mouth and spat directly into his hand. Little brother, aren't you afraid of getting dirty? I discovered this like finding a new continent. Marcus grabbed my neck like carrying a cat. Go rinse your mouth with cold water quickly. Vincent and I took the college entrance exam smoothly. We only differed by 100 points and chose universities in the same city. That evening, Marcus hosted 3 tables of celebration, but only one table was filled. Besides me, Marcus, and Vincent, there were only Mrs. Zhang and driver Liu. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. I leaned close to Marcus's ear and whispered, Marcus, where are the people you invited? Marcus slammed the table. Didn't I tell you to invite your classmates? Did you forget? Over these years, I've offended all my acquaintances. Oh right? I turned to blame Vincent. Why didn't you invite your classmates? Vincent was calmly eating vegetables, not used to it. But just when we thought Marcus would gradually get better, a new family moved into the villa next door. Vincent and I decided to go over and get acquainted, make friends, and conveniently dragged Vincent along. Unexpectedly, as soon as the door opened, we came face to face with the female lead. She was wearing a pink silk nightgown, her belly prominently showing her pregnancy. Despite being pregnant, her face was still radiantly beautiful. "I'm dead?" I thought. "Marcus. Hey, Vincent. Baby, who's here?" A familiar male voice came from inside the house. "It's over." Without a doubt, it was the male lead. I grabbed my brother's and little brother's hands and turned to run. Damn it, the house next door is exactly the male and female leads. Not only are they happily sweet, they're also pregnant. Isn't this like stabbing a knife into Marcus's heart? This is so unreasonable. Sure enough, as soon as we got home, Marcus locked himself in his room. Vincent looked confused. "Who were they just now?" I said seriously. "Remember this well, from now on, they are our enemies. When they get old, we'll sell them health supplements." Vincent said nothing, just contemplated thoughtfully. I knocked on the room door. "Marcus, come out and eat. I even bought the S-brand calcium milk you like most." There was no reply from inside, only the sound of muffled crying. "It's broken. Marcus's depression has relapsed." I was so worried I paced in circles. "Don't worry, Vincent." Then he calmly entered the password. The door opened. I was stunned. "How do you know the password?" Once his fingerprint didn't work, so he entered the password manually. I heard it. With this IQ, damn. Could it be that you guys are the main storyline and I'm just a side character? I wasn't willing to accept this. On Marcus's 10-square-meter bed, there was a lump. Vincent and I lay on either side, patting his back to comfort my brother. Marcus let it go. "Anyway, she already has a child." Marcus stopped for a moment, then cried even louder. I quickly searched my mind. "Although you missed one flower, the whole field of flowers is still waiting for you." As soon as I said it, I remembered it was winter now. There were no flower fields. After thinking for a long time, I was about to say something else when Vincent pulled my hand. "Let him be quiet for a while." So Vincent and I both lay on our backs, staring at the ceiling in a daze. After being dazed for a while, we fell asleep. When I woke up, I was being poked by something. Looking up, it was my brother's beard. He was hugging me with one arm and Vincent with the other. Both were still asleep, sleeping soundly. I nestled back into my brother's arms. I suddenly noticed that Marcus had fine lines at the corners of his eyes. Marcus was only 28 but already aging. But overall, he was still very handsome. Long, curved eyelashes, clear eyebrows, just like a movie star. Turning my head, I discovered my little brother was also very handsome, with glowing white skin. Very satisfying, truly a treat for the eyes. I'll have to use these two as the standard when looking for a boyfriend in the future. This was the third time I saw Marcus sitting on the rooftop. The night wind was cool. He sat in the vast darkness, cigarette after cigarette, red dots flickering, smoke swirling around his broad back like his loneliness. I was afraid that one day he might really think irrationally and jump down. So I pulled Vincent over to secretly discuss countermeasures. "No, besides money, he only has us two left. Maybe we're making him too idle, so he feels like no one needs him anymore. If he thinks he's really not needed anymore, he'll definitely jump without hesitation." So the next day, I deliberately caused trouble and got into a loud fight. When Marcus was called to the office by the dean, I had a band-aid on my nose bridge, head bowed, timidly glancing at Marcus. Sure enough, he looked at me with knitted brows. I closed my eyes and silently prayed, "Don't scold too harshly. Who dared to hit my well-behaved little sister like this?" His cold gaze swept across the desk. I couldn't believe my ears. I looked up at Marcus. The principal wiped sweat from his forehead, forcing a smile. "Haha, could it be that your sister hit someone else? Impossible." Marcus frowned. "She's been afraid to step on ants since she was little." "Marcus, I want to cry. You're so handsome." I immediately had sparkling eyes. Marcus's momentum dropped for a second, raising an eyebrow. Just so. The next second, he couldn't smile anymore. Because the security captain played the surveillance footage. The clear image showed me kicking a classmate's leg first. Of course, this was a play I hired someone to perform. The wound on my nose was from when I got too into character and fell, getting scratched by a tree branch. These things absolutely couldn't let Marcus know. I bowed my head with a guilty expression. "Sorry, Marcus. I was wrong." Unexpectedly, Marcus rewound the video and watched it carefully again, unable to help but whistle. "Kid, if you weren't going to say anything, fine, but that kick was pretty cool." Only then did he realize, awkwardly scratching his head. "Sorry for misunderstanding everyone." The principal quickly made peace. Now that we understand each other, there's no problem. Sorry for troubling Director Liu to come here. Marcus waved his hand. Then I'll donate 2 new school buildings to make up for it. Almost made me kneel down and call you my reborn father. Outside the office, I hugged Marcus's arm. Marcus, you're still the coolest? You solve everything as soon as you appear. You know I can't live without you. Marcus burst out laughing, brushing away the messy hair by my ear. You little flatterer, be more well-behaved next time. I nodded vigorously, but thought the opposite, being well-behaved was impossible. The next day, I called the blonde guy from the same department. He turned around, his whole body bulging with muscles, eyes fierce. I trembled. Haha, blonde friend, do you want to do a small part-time job? The blonde frowned. I got scared and quickly waved my hands. Never mind, forget it. Unexpectedly, before I could finish speaking, I saw him purse his lips, close his eyes, with fists as big as sandbags covering his eyes, voice aggrieved. Woo woo woo, can you please not call me blonde? My hair is natural. I was stunned. Are you mixed race? You don't look like it. The blonde nodded. Mixed between Hebei and Tianjin. Alright, whether north or south, whatever. As long as you're willing to help me. That evening, Marcus sat closer to the edge of the rooftop. I understood because even sitting farther away, you could still hear the faint laughter from the villa next door, the sound of the male and female leads swinging in the backyard. It was really too painful to watch. Seeing Marcus about to cry again, I gathered all my courage and led the blonde guy up to the rooftop. Marcus? I have a boyfriend now. I can't forget the look in Marcus's eyes when he saw me and the blonde guy. From confusion to shock to rage. Finally, his face turned purple with anger. Snow. Marcus roared and jumped off the rooftop, not even wearing shoes. I sensed trouble and quickly pulled the blonde guy to run. The blonde guy ran while muttering, "Why didn't you tell me there was life-threatening danger? I'll pay you more. Can I pay you more? Hurry up, don't let Marcus catch up. We were still caught in the end." The blonde guy ran fast and escaped outside first. I was one step slower and could only watch the gate slam shut in front of me. Marcus's eyes were dark, smiling coldly, approaching step by step. Not bad, choosing a boyfriend who knows how to run, running away and not even caring about his girlfriend. I backed against the gate, trembling, reaching out to push Marcus's shoulder. Marcus, I was wrong." Marcus said nothing. His deep black eyes were bottomless, cold as icy lake water, as if wanting to drown someone. I had never seen Marcus like this. I began to truly regret. Seeing my legs trembling and about to collapse, Marcus finally stepped back, raising his hand high. I'm dead, about to get slapped. I closed my eyes and raised my hands to cover my face, but that hand gently landed on my head. Break up. He doesn't like you. Don't force yourself to be with someone who doesn't like you. It's very tiring. Opening my eyes, he had already turned away. His large back was lonely, but seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Damn, I made Marcus sad. Plan A failed, Plan B activated. The next day, I burst into my brother's bedroom. I discovered Marcus's arm was not only bleeding but also had a white pill in his palm. The cold white pill lying quietly in his hand reminded me of the milk candy from that year when he first picked me up. It also lay in his palm like this. But Marcus, medicine is bitter, not sweet like milk candy. I took a deep breath and shouted, "Wait, Marcus. Look at this, you're gonna be an uncle. Are you happy?" I didn't understand what was happening. When Marcus saw the ultrasound report in my hand, his pupils immediately contracted. Seeing him reach out, I quickly continued, "Do you think it's a boy or girl?" But suddenly I felt something was wrong. The bedroom was eerily quiet. Marcus was slowly pulling pills from his throat and using gauze to wrap around his wrist, round after round. All his actions were frighteningly cold. I felt uneasy and glanced at him. "Marcus, you're not going to die anymore." Marcus laughed coldly, picking up the feather duster beside him and standing up. "Right, not dying anymore. Afraid you'll give birth to another blonde kid dancing disco in front of my grave." After saying this, he began walking toward me. I was so scared my lips trembled, backing away while forcing a smile. Haha, not dying is good, not dying is good. Actually, I don't really Suddenly I remembered something and immediately shut my mouth. I couldn't tell the truth. If I said I lied to him and there was really nothing to worry about, what if he felt betrayed and wanted to die again? I rigidly controlled my legs that wanted to run away and stood firmly in place. "Go ahead and hit me, My dear brother who loves me, this little pain is nothing. Wipe away the tears, don't be afraid. At least we still have dreams. Damn, why am I suddenly singing? Before the feather duster swung down, I shrank my neck. But the next second, a gentle breeze passed behind me. I was pulled into someone's arms and held tightly. At the same time, whack, sound rang out. The person holding me trembled slightly all over. I looked up in a daze and discovered I was being held by Vincent. Looking up, I could touch that tightly clenched chin. At this moment, he wasn't closing his eyes or dodging, but calmly and firmly looking straight at my brother. Marcus was stunned, immediately dropping the feather duster and rushing over to check his wound. Vincent, what are you doing? But Vincent still held me tightly without letting go. I leaned against his chest, feeling the warmth and heartbeat transmitted. Marcus, that ultrasound is fake. I helped her print it. Marcus's action of checking the wound immediately froze. After I explained all my strange behaviors over this period, Marcus sat across from us on the sofa, hands on his knees, head bowed in disappointment. This is also my fault. I really did think about that, but my mind kept showing images of you two. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Having you two by my side already makes me very happy. I won't resent fate's unfairness or ask for anything more. And just now, I wasn't taking sleeping pills but vitamins. What about the wound on your hand? I pressed on, got scratched by a tree branch while watering flowers. Marcus looked up and smiled at us. Really, I was so moved I almost cried, rushing to hug my brother tightly. Marcus, we love you too. Then I buried my face in his chest and said childishly, how about we move away? I don't want to see them anymore either. We can just live happily in our own little corner. Vincent hesitated for a moment, then stood up and opened his arms to hug both of us. But before we could be happy for long, Vincent's biological parents found us. They were tearful, gripping his hands tightly, crying, finally, Mom and Dad found you. I was used to such fake performances, having seen several people impersonate relatives before, just aiming for Marcus's financial support. Seeing they had acted enough, I waved my hand to chase them away. Unexpectedly, Vincent, who had been silent, softly called out, Mom, Dad. I was stunned. Are they really your biological parents? I pulled Vincent aside. You were so young when you got lost. Look again, make sure you're not mistaken. He bowed his head and said, I remember very clearly. It can't be wrong. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say and I didn't dare ask if he was leaving. After all, that was his real home. In the end, we were just outsiders with no right to keep him. Oh, that's good then, good. I forced a smile, suddenly feeling everything had become meaningless. I yawned and waved my hand. Remember to tell me when you're leaving. As soon as I entered my room and closed the door, I threw myself on the bed. Before long, I indeed heard the sound of packing from the next room. Damn, he's really going. I buried my head under the blanket, afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself from rushing out and yelling. You bastard, did you forget the promise between us? There was a knock on the door. Kid, aren't you coming out to see him off? See him off for what? It's good enough that I don't rush out and beat him up for being ungrateful. No, Marcus. Just go. I only heard the sound of luggage wheels rolling by, footsteps stopping at my door for a few seconds, but only a few short seconds, then leaving again. The summer without Vincent was really boring to death. I remembered when we played games together, laughing loudly, getting excited in the middle of the night to go mountain climbing, lying on the grass looking at stars and getting bitten by mosquitoes until we screamed. Of course, only I screamed loudly. Vincent calmly stood up and swatted mosquitoes for me. Overall, he was a very good person, wasn't he? I was going crazy. He didn't mind me either. When I hit him, he didn't hit back. He did whatever I asked him to do, like a well-behaved little dog. But my little dog left without any hesitation. Damn, it really hurts. On the 28th day of the lonely summer vacation, still no news from him. I was completely disappointed. Sitting dejectedly sunbathing on the windowsill, suddenly in the not too distant road ahead, there was a thin, somewhat tired figure walking toward us. I widened my eyes in disbelief. It's Vincent. He's back. I could barely wait another second and shot out the door. Just then, Vincent was standing right at our gate, facing each other through the door. Only then did I notice he had gotten a bit darker. His suitcase was also torn at the bottom, and his whole person looked like he had just run a long distance, breathing softly and rapidly. When he saw me, his eyes suddenly lit up. Yo, couldn't stand it at your new home. Missing us so you came back. Vincent didn't answer, just quietly stared at me intently. The gentle sunlight reflected in his eyes, as if wanting to make up for all the days he had missed. I'll temporarily accept forgiving you. I opened the door, and before I could even stretch out my arms, that person had already rushed over and hugged me tightly. Sorry, I missed you so much. I won't do it again. Only later did I learn that Vincent left so suddenly to handle household registration matters in his hometown. Originally planning to return in a few days. Unexpectedly, someone in the family passed away right then, so he had to stay to handle everything. His phone also suddenly broke, and he couldn't contact us, which worried me to death. In the end, he had to borrow someone else's phone to call home. I kept piling good food into his bowl. Vincent didn't refuse eating whatever I gave him. Marcus raised his glass. Then let's celebrate our reunion. Under the lamplight, we clinked our crystal glasses together, ding, clear and filled with happiness. Sometimes the greatest act of love is learning when to let go. Marcus's journey teaches us that clinging to unrequited love can become a prison of our own making, slowly destroying the beauty of life around us. But redemption comes through the unexpected bonds we forge along the way. Family isn't always defined by blood. It's created by those who choose to stay, who pick us up when we fall, and who see our worth even in our darkest moments. Snow and Vincent didn't just save Marcus from his despair. They gave him a new purpose beyond his obsession. True healing begins when we shift our focus from what we've lost to what we still have, transforming our pain into compassion for others who need rescue, just as we once did. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. I truly appreciate your comments, feedback, and thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. See you again in the next story.